welcome everyone to our 10th anniversary party. Yes, it's our 10th annual Marguerite Schumacher Memorial Alumni Lecture, and haven't we kicked it off in wonderful style. Thank you to our Thank you to Bradford Blackrider, James Blackrider, Leo Riding at the Door, and Cole Healy for your beautiful song. It was so meaningful to hear that today. I would like to also thank Herman Yellow Old Woman for offering a prayer and a blessing of our event earlier today before things got underway. You will have an opportunity to meet him later on this evening. My name is Heather Bensler. I'm actually a Bachelor of Nursing alum from 1996, and I also received my Doctorate of Education in 2022 from the Workland School of Education. And I'm delighted to be your host this evening and a moderator for today. I would like to pause and start us in a good way by acknowledging the land on which we're gathered. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge that we are gathered today on Mohkinstsis in the traditional Treaty 7 territory, and we also want to acknowledge the oral practices of those who live within the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani First Nation, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation, on which we're gathered here today and receiving wonderful hospitality, so thank you. And also Iiyikinaami, which includes the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nation. We also acknowledge that this territory is home to Métis Nation of Alberta 3, Division number 3. And as we pause to acknowledge that, I want us to, particularly for those who consider ourselves visitors on this land, for those who, I'm a settler of Scottish and German heritage, that how we situate ourselves here, how we choose to live, and how we can acknowledge the traditions and the oral practices, and as we're talking about nursing programs today, what that means to have Indigenous nurses who are educated through a Western institution, but can learn how to do so in a way that honors their culture. And that imagination is really an acknowledgement and a respect to the land on which we're gathered and the people that are here. So it's exciting to be able to do that today. I want to thank you all for your continued support of this lecture, for celebrating our amazing UCalgary nursing alum. And it's made extra special this year, given our opportunity to hear from our honored speaker at this beautiful location. We've never gathered here for this event before. This event is also sponsored by the Office of Alumni Engagement, the UCalgary Alumni Association, as part of the annual Alumni All Access programming, as well as our academic partners at Old Sun Community College and, of course, UCalgary Nursing. And if you were lucky enough to be one of those first 100 guests who arrived today, you received one of those lovely wristlet lanyards as a gift, and that's crafted by Angela Bearchief of Siksika First Nation. And if you're in our faculty, you can maybe come to one of the Beating and Banter events that Dr. Michelle Scott hosts often in our faculty, and Angela Bearchief is often present in our faculty. So thank you to Angela for this lovely commemoration of our 10th anniversary and for our speaker. A little about me, I'm currently an associate professor teaching in the Faculty of Nursing and the Assistant Dean for Academic Partnerships. And in my role, I have the honor of overseeing the ongoing development, sustainment, and extension of our faculty's rural and Indigenous nursing programs. And as you will hear more this evening from our distinguished speaker and a friend, we partner with Old Sun Community College on Siksika First Nation to bring our undergraduate nursing educational program to Indigenous students there. We also have programs in Wainwright, Cold Lake, and St. Paul. But for us, this program is particularly special. Before I introduce Debbie Smith, I'd like to also introduce a few of our special guests. A warm welcome to Dr. Catherine Lang, who is our interim dean, as Dr. Dean Davidson is on administrative leave for this fall. Catherine is also a proud alumna of the university. We're excited also to have Kate Wong here. Where's Kate? Oh, there you are. Okay. And she's been a longtime leader within our faculty, receiving her BN in 2012 and is now a doctoral student. But we're excited to say that this past week, or next week actually, she'll be installed as the chair and president of the University of Calgary's Alumni Association. So congratulations to Kate. And we also welcome our alumni president, Chaltu Abdelrahman. She is here present today. Where's Chaltu? There you are, Chaltu. Wonderful. And as you know, and then today, of course, we have our distinguished speaker, Debbie Smith. So today for our event, it's her speech will be called "Nurturing Our Roots Toward Health and Healing: The Story of Iiyikinaami, or Spirit Helper." Debbie Smith received her BN from the University of Calgary in 1994, and she has spent the past 3 decades working in First Nations health. She comes to us from Siksika First Nation of the Blackfoot Confederacy, and she was given the name Apastaki, or Bridge Woman, by a Siksika elder. She learned early on about the many issues that Indigenous people face as they encounter our healthcare system. And she hopes that through this role as coordinator of the Iiyikinaami program, that she will be able to encourage Indigenous students at Old Sun Community College to be proud Indigenous registered nurses. We are proud to call Debbie an alum of this program. Please welcome Debbie to the stage.
Okay, gee, the day has come, hey? We've been planning this for a long time, and yeah, the day has come, and welcome to all of you. Before we get started, I'd like to say a few words in my language. Welcome to you all. I'm honored to be here. My traditional name is Abastaki, which Heather had translated as Bridge Woman. Okay? My English given name is Debbie Smith, and I'm very honored to be here to talk about something that I've become very, very passionate about the last few years. And when Dr. Davidson had originally talked to me about this event earlier in the year, it really took me by surprise, to say the least. But as she talked more about the event, I agreed. I agreed that this was a worthwhile story to tell. So here I am talking about Iiyikinaami. Before I do that, I'd like to talk about myself for a bit and some of the experiences that I've shared, just to give you a little bit more context about the program that we had at Old Sun Community College. shared previously, I'm from the Siksika Nation, which is about an hour east of Calgary, along the Trans-Canada Highway. So we are a member of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Siksika, the Gaina, the Piikani, and the Blackfeet of Southern, in Brownie, Montana. We are also signatories to Treaty Number 7, which includes Siksika, Gaina, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda. I come from one of the more traditional families with the nation. My father's name is Chief Leo Pridyangman. My mother Alma Pridyangman. Although my father was very busy, he had a love he had a great love for his people, hey? His traditions, his culture, and he passed those traditions on to all of his children. And today I'm a painted TV holder. There's my parents. I am a painted TV holder. I don't know if you can see the background here. I'm not really big with pictures, you know, I think a lot of you know that, especially Heather. But I did find a really good picture of the teepees that were, you know, my dad had, okay? And I'm kind of way over here in the background. So, anyways, he had passed on the elk or the Bunagad design to me. I'm also a Northern style Blackfoot traditional dancer, and then I've got my two grandchildren who are with us today. I'm really proud to say that they've joined me in a circle of dancers, celebrating who we are as Indigenous people, hey, as Siksika peaks, right? I'm here with my family. They've taken over 3 tables of this room, so tonight we are a very, very close family. So you know, we're always pulling, you know, together for one another, and I'm just really glad that they're here with us. I have my two sons here, Dallas and Dylan. My husband couldn't make it. He's in the building, but he's not feeling very well. But I'm sure he's rooting for me upstairs, right? Like I said, I had wanted to find out if I could. Just wondering if I could get a water. Sorry, I forgot to bring it up here. I thought I'd start tonight's talk with my time at the university. Dr. Bensler had mentioned that I graduated in 1994. I actually started at the university in 1989. And it was quite the number of years in school. It was the first time I've ever left my community. Hey? When I left, I had my little 2-year-old, which is my son here, Dallas. He moved with me to Calgary, and when we both of us, you know, moved to Calgary. My husband was a cattle rancher at the time, and he was a full-time contractor with the Siksika Nation Housing Department back home. So he only came up on weekends to Calgary, and it was after about 2 years that it was just getting too challenging, me being in the city, hey, and so I made the hard decision of moving back home after 2 years. I'm not going to embarrass my son here, but he had some behavioral issues, and I finally put 2 and 2 together when he acts out when his dad leaves. So I packed up and I moved right back home. And then came my years of 3 years of commuting back and forth to Calgary. I joke with a lot of people. I think I ran three used vehicles into the ground, driving back and forth on the highway. And I swear, I think I left those three vehicles, left in my yard as a symbol of all the hard work. It was quite a number of years going back and forth. Some of you in the faculty do remember how early we have to be at the hospitals, right? Well, I left my community at 5 o'clock in the morning just to make sure that I got into my shift at 6:30. Okay? But I made that decision because as you all see my family here today, my family support system was at Sikshiga. And although every day I came to Calgary for schooling, at least I was coming home to see my family and to be in that familiar environment before I go back the next day to Calgary. Okay? So I moved back home and completed the courses, worked hard, and did what I needed to do to complete the program. And then came graduation, right? We all remember that day when we first graduated, and the big hall that we're all gathered into and whatnot. And that day was significant for me because I did receive my degree, and it was a symbol of all the hard work that I did at the university. But it was also very significant for me because of what happened during that celebration. How we're all put in line, and we're all making the procession up to the stage. And well, it was my turn. I was waiting at the steps there, and they called my name. I proceeded to go up the stairs, and I walked across, and got all the students out in a hall and up on the stands as well. And I went across, and I received my degree from our dean. But as soon as I received my degree, as soon as I received my degree, I was very, very surprised about. All of a sudden, I heard our drum and our songs of our people, and I still get really emotional when I talk about this. I'll tell you a little bit of why I get emotional. When I heard the drum and the songs of our people, I turned around. I was looking around. Where's that sound? It echoed throughout the whole hall and whatnot. And I got off the stage, and right down the center, between the two aisles, way against the wall, I seen a drum group. And they were singing for me. And like I said, I spent 5 years at the university, worked really, really hard to make those grades. And I was instructed to learn from all the Western theories, methodologies that I was required to study in order to make I learned about all the history of Canada, other nations, and I learned all the Western learning that I was required to learn, right, in order to graduate. But I was finally recognized as an Indigenous woman, as a Schumacher, on my graduation day. It was after 5 years where I was finally recognized as, for who I am. And that's why I get emotional even now when I'm talking about that. Later on, during that ceremony, I witnessed my late father go down to the drum group and offer them something in thanks. Hey? And that is the way of our people. Hey? From day one, we are surrounded. From day one, we are surrounded by our culture, our traditions. We are reminded by our elders, our spiritual leaders, our knowledge keepers, of who we are as Indigenous people. While I was at school, I was so very lucky that I did spend that time back home. Because coming from a traditional family, I was always exposed to our ways. I was always exposed to, the gatherings that we had back home. Okay? And after the weekend, I'd head back to the university. Every event that we participate in starts with our traditional prayers or our greetings. Today, and I'm so very happy that this was accommodated by the faculty. Before the event started, our elder, Herman Young old woman, provided a blessing and a prayer, a blessing for the event, for the venue, and a prayer that this event go good, and that it go in a really good way. And as he finished praying, I said, I really needed this too. So, yeah, as I said, and as you can tell from some of the pictures here, most of these are from my family. I thought my father, Chief Leo Kuyuna. On this side is my grandfather, Tony Kuyuna. You can tell we're a big horse family as well. And in the middle is a picture of all the teepees that my father owned. Okay, my sister Leanne and her daughter Sam, who's actually one of our nursing students in this, who started their first year of studies. Leanne is here with us. You'll see Louise there with my brother and myself in our traditional regalia. And then my granddaughter, Olivia. My other granddaughter, Willow, is very shy, so I have a very clear picture of Olivia. We, from very young, we're immediately exposed to, our ways, hey? In everything that we do. Now, do it to see, said the prayer this morning, and we had the drummer start, which is, always a good thing in the way in which we do things. And we have our drums and our songs at the events that we hold. My first ceremony, I guess, happened when I was about 9 months old, and when I received my first name, Abastaki. And my father was a drummer with the Blackwood A1 Club. It's a drum group back home, and they were invited all over the place, in celebrations that we all had. This time they were invited down to Idaho. So back then we all traveled in vehicles, right? And I used to call them convoys. And so we went across the line into Idaho, and they host drum down there. And on the way back, after the celebration, when we crossed the line back into Canada, they stopped. And this story comes from my mom, hey? And she told me that they all stopped, and when they got past the line, and they got out and to stretch their legs and whatnot, right? And my mom she was telling me, she told me this as well. She said it was common back then for our people to always have an elder with us, hey? And in anything that they do. And back then, the Blackfoot A1 Club always got old man Simon Wolflick to come with us. So he got off the vehicle, with my mom, and all the drummers were in a gas station or wherever they were at, taking a rest. And my mom got off the vehicle with me. She was holding me in my arms, and old man Simon, told my mom, "Hope it," meaning give her to me. Okay? My mom gave me to him, and he started talking about the trip that they went down south. It was a good trip. They had a good weekend of singing, of drumming. Hey, he was happy that they all got back safely. That he felt good that he got back into his traditional territory. Hey, and then he started talking about the trip coming back. That if we, all those safe crossings that they had to cross over in order to get back home safely. He was glad about that. If we didn't have those safe crossings, then they wouldn't have arrived home in a good way. Hey? And so with that, he raised me up. He raised me up, and he gave me my first name, Abastaki. So that's the story of my name. I received two different names after that, Nagui Putaki, Holy Flying Woman, and Bidaki after that. And after certain things in my life, I was gifted those names. So a lot of us, a lot of our Indigenous people have names, and there's significant practice within our communities to provide, to gift a name to special people in our lives, and then the other areas, naming the various things in our environment, the mountains, the rivers, the trees, the plants, everything in our environment has an Indigenous name. So when we had started the Iiyikinaami program, it was called it was just called the Indigenous Indigenous Root Pilot Program with Bachelor of Nursing, and we had a few months into when we started the program, one of the members on the committee had requested that this program should have a name, hey? And so I approached Natul Sisi, and I asked him if he could think of a name for the program, hey? He came back to me a few days later, and he chose the name Iiyikinaami. And when he said that name, that was a term that I never heard for a long, long time. The only other time that I heard that word was when my mom used to talk about Iiyikinaami. And it does literally translate to that, spirit helper. She talked about the common practice back then when our people would always have their spirits with them, hey? And how we would call on our spirit to help us in times of healing, when we're challenged, when we need guidance, hey? So that's the story of Iiyikinaami. And whenever we do provide names to people, that comes with ceremony, and that is a common practice with our people. A little bit more about myself. You know, I think all of what I'm sharing here is going to give you a little bit of context to what I'm going to be talking about in terms of Iiyikinaami program. Most of my colleagues, my family, of course, you know, I'm an avid runner. I love jogging. I love running, especially in a heat. You know, some people can't understand that, but I'll 30 degrees, I'll get out there and run. Right? I love running, and I think it's, you know, my connection with nature that is the big draw for me. Hey, and but you know, just talking about our way of healing. I started running when I was about 15. I'm 57, so I don't know how my knees are still the way they are, but I started running when I was about 15, and I do know when I was 16 in grade 12, I was still at home, and I wanted to get an early run in before the bus comes to pick me up, urban, you know, or rural schooling, right? The bus. I wanted to get an early run, so I got up. It was a little after 6 o'clock, and I was getting ready and getting my runners tied up and everything. And the sun was just coming up, and anyways, I was sitting there on the couch getting ready, and I at the corner of my eye, I seen at the living room window, I seen some movement there, and I looked over, and here's my dad. Hey, my dad Leo was out there, and he was facing the other way, and I was wondering, what's he doing out there, and I had the sense to not disturb him, and not long after, he turned south. He turned south, and I looked at him, and when he turned south, he had his pipe, hey? And that is a vision that's always going to stay with me. Seeing my father out there with the sun just rising behind him, praying, hey? Little did I know, and I learned this years later from my mom, that at that time, he was still the head chief at that time, and he was the head chief for Siksika First Nation for many, many years. And at that time, he was going through some troubles. He was going through some challenges with his work. And I guess a great deal, a lot of you don't know my father. He was a very gentle man, and he was. I literally, I'm saying this truthfully. I never did see my father get angry at anybody. Okay? I never heard a bad word come out of his mouth. He really followed, you know, the teachings of our people, you know, to not display behavior like that. Okay? And but at that time he was really, really troubled, and that was his way of of dealing with the troubles that he had. I talked about the other various ways of that we go towards Indigenous people and when we need healing. Hey, I showed you a picture there earlier. I am a traditional dancer with a Blackfoot. When I was younger, I danced fancy, and as I'm getting older, I switched to traditional. And that I've noticed many times, and it wasn't a conscious, thought on what I was doing, but throughout many times over my life, when I'm going through stresses, I'm going through a hard time, I'm going through challenges, right? I search for our songs, for our people. I search for those celebrations, the powwows, and it just seems like when I leave that powwow, when I leave that celebration, it is my way of healing. It was my way of relaxing. It was my way of giving myself peace, hey, from the daily stressors in this life. So those are, some of the things that, we're brought up with all the time from day one. We learn, we don't know it all. We're lifelong learners. We're continually learning. Our connections with our land as Indigenous people is really amazing. So many stories out there about how we connect with our land. Our elders and our spiritual leaders know all the sacred sites within our territories and the stories behind them and the histories behind those landmarks and sites that we're familiar with. Okay? This is just a real little snapshot of a story I had come across, and of course this was told by my mom. She was fairly quite young, and she had my older brother and my oldest sister, Leo and Marie. They're still babies, and this was in the horse and buggy days, right? And they were coming across Suchka. And they're traveling on the trail there, and my dad told my mom, I need to water these horses, hey, and so my mom's sitting there and she's looking around and she's thinking, well, where's he gonna water the horses? The river is way down that way, hey. And so they kept going, and not long after, my dad stopped the horses, and he got off, and he was looking down on the ground, and he stopped right by a certain plant, and he told my mom to give him a shovel, and so she gave him a shovel, and he started digging, and she was telling me, she said he dug about a foot deep, and when he dug about a foot deep, the water started coming out from underneath that plant, hey? And my mom was, when she was telling me this story, it was in her later years, and the awe that she still had telling me that story also came with a little bit of frustration, because she told me, I wish I had gotten down and gotten more information about that plant, hey? What that plant was, and that was something that she told me at the time when she was talking about that story. And there are so many other memories I had growing up that prepared me to work with my people in the years ahead. I worked with our elders lodge back home. I was blessed to be able to talk with our elders and listen to that old Blackfoot. You know, I don't know if most of you know, but we have an old Blackfoot that the elders from before used to talk, and it was hard to understand them. Hey? And Simon Wolf, was at the elders lodge, and he spoke that old Blackfoot. So I'm really blessed that I was able to hear some of that with our people. There's some I've had a lot of experiences where I've been able to, you know, tie my Indigenous past with, been able to work with our First Nations people, been able to work with our youth and our adult population, and be able to apply the skills that I've had, been so blessed with, you know, from my parents. There are other experiences that I came across, working in the broader healthcare system. That was troubling, that was concerning, and as you know, as I'm sure most of all of us here is aware, there is many studies have shown that Indigenous people continue to be marginalized here in Canada, and their quality of life with their health has been impacted, and it is known that there are many gaps in the healthcare system that affect our people. We need to be accepting of the services that we seek help with, and if the reception is not well received, there will be a lot of hesitancy. And you know, some of our people have a high incidence rates of diabetes and heart disease, and what along with, you know, the past history that we carry with us, right? There is a lot of you know, there's a bit of misunderstanding with our people and how we view the world in terms of you know, the environment that we live in, how we view our relationships, how we view our you know, certain people within our communities, and how we, you know, communicate. Even just sitting there talking with one of our elders is part of our ways. Hey, you know, with I remember when I was studying with a nursing program, one of the we were there. And I'm sure that's still the case today. We have we're taught how to communicate with our clients. Hey, we're taught how to communicate with the clients, and you know, how to properly engage, and open-ended questions, closed questions, and what those are for, and whatnot, right? With our people, it's somewhat different. Okay? And I personally experienced this with my son. He was with our people. It's you know, it's a sign of respect not to, you know, look directly into the eye of you know, those that we're talking with. Eh? But he got dinged on an assessment because he wasn't doing that, right? And you know, and I talked to that therapist, and I asked that therapist, that doesn't make him not engaging or not paying attention. It's just how we are as Indigenous people, right? And various other things that you know, certain misunderstandings about our ways, you know, and so those are just some of the things that can affect our quality of life, right? it was pretty much early on after I graduated, and I was still quite young. My mom had asked me to go to one of the hospitals here, and she was telling me that the staff were having a hard time with one of my older relatives. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go over there. And so I made my way to the hospital. And while I was there, as I walked into the unit, some of the nurses came to me and was telling me that they're having a hard time, bathing her. And I didn't like their demeanor and their attitude when I was talking to them, and I was still quite young at the time, right? And they're having a hard time bathing her, and so I proceeded into my relative's room, and I was talking to her. She talks fluent Blackfoot, and anyway, she bombarded me as getting upset and complaining to me and telling me she doesn't want to bath the way they want her to bath, right? And she was really quite upset, hey? And so I told her, well, I'll help her, hey? And so we got her all. I got her all comfortable, got her washed and whatnot, and got her comfy in bed, and I stayed with her for a bit because she did need a little bit of calming down. Okay, she actually just wanted to leave the hospital because of that. And we after I left the unit and I walked through, and the nurses caught me outside and they asked me how I got her to bath. Okay, and I simply told them I bathed them. I bathed them in their in her nightgown, okay? And I think it was just a misunderstanding at that time. This lady, this old lady, was one of our spiritual leaders back home. She was a very well-respected lady, in Siksika, and not only Siksika, but in other First Nations communities. And she was, she was always, fully dressed, and this was a lady who wouldn't even show her bare ankles in public, okay? And she, adhered to the proper decorum of her stature in the community. She was one of our society members, the Moto Geeks, the Buffalo Women's Society, a very traditional lady, and they expected her to bath her like that. Okay? If they knew who this lady was in front of them, I think maybe that would have been handled differently. Okay? Today, unfortunately, we still see a lot of racism, discrimination, various stories that we have, historically of our Indigenous people having to face long wait times, discrimination, unfavorable attitude, towards them. And a lot of our people have faced trauma, right? With the residential schools and the past injustices that we've had as Indigenous people. Well, today we still, at times still see racism, discrimination. There was a story that in the past that I heard about an old couple back home in Siksika. And couple. This was, I think, back in the early 1900s. And this old couple would make their trek, to Clooney. And the town is still there. It's on the east end of our community at Siksika. And there's a store in Clooney just as soon as you cross the tracks to the north of the border of Siksika. There's a store there, and that's where a lot of our members from the east side would go to get their goods and whatnot. Anyways, they made their way across, into the store. So as they were going into the store, they came across a non-indigenous lady, and this lady, ordered them off the pathway because she was walking on there, being very, very rude to them, and the old couple just moved off the pathway, and until she passed, and they all went into the store. They all did their shopping, and inside this, the store, she kept being rude to them, being, a lot of disparaging comments to them about their attire and whatnot. And they didn't say anything. They just went about, their business in the store, getting what they needed, and she went up and paid for her stuff, and then she left, and then they made it up to the till. And when they got to the till, the store clerk, immediately told this old couple, why did you let her talk to you that way? She said, you shouldn't let people talk to you that way. And after a little bit of hesitancy, the old man finally said, we have to be patient with people like that. We have to be patient with this lady, because she hasn't learned yet to be a human being. If you ever talk at length with our elders, they talk about their lives as Niitsitapiks, the original people. A very respected elder within this room is also my brother-in-law, Bruce Starlight. And I've heard him talk, as well as Nadu Tsisi. Very many of our elders talk about our way of life, and their definition of who we should be as Niitsitapiks is to be a human being, and that's what that old man was referring to when he's talking about that. Our views on health encompass an overall interrelationship of all systems, including our families, our relationships, our language, and our connections to our land. Some of these I talked about, and I shared with some of my colleagues at the university that there's not very much research out there, because we were a verbal people. We passed our knowledge orally, okay? And in a lot of cases that is still the case. And a lot of the discussions that we've had include the storytelling and sharing knowledge that with our people. Our families are very important. As you can tell right from here, or right from this room, I have a very big family. You should see some of the other families back home. They're very, very big. So some of that you might see in the hospitals when some of us are sick, right? You see a lot. You'll see everybody go and support the family, and that's just who we are, because families are important to us. Our relationships are important, and the type of relationships that we have within our communities are important, and the respect that we place for certain members within our circle is very much still acknowledged. With Siksika and some of the other First Nations communities that are here within these lands. I think everybody knows our language is at the core of who we are as a people. Right? I'm so blessed that I'm still learning my language, but I'm so blessed that I can still communicate with our elders back home. Hey, and our connections to our land is your our elders always talk about our lands, about our traditional territories, about the significance of our sacred sites and whatnot. So those all those intertwine in regards to our views on health, right? It's not only the physical self, it's not only the spiritual, or the emotional part, or it's not only they all intermingle with our people. It's who we are as Nitsidawiks, as human beings, hey, which is what defines us as healthy and as healthy people. Hey, I don't know how you have for time, Heather. You can't see the clock. I just have a few more slides here. The Iiyikinaami program at Olson Community College is a marrying of Western ways with our Indigenous ways. It is a forging of two worldviews in the ways of health. Through the advice of our elders, knowledge keepers, and spiritual leaders, we have found a way to incorporate this knowledge while completing the required study in the Bachelor of Nursing curriculum. On the right here is Olson Community College, and of course we all know the University of Calgary. And the picture at the bottom is a picture of the students. These are our second year students at the university, and this picture was taken up in the lab at the I always call it the penthouse suite at Olson Community College. It's way at the top, and I have to get used to those stairs every day going into my office. But it's beautiful space up there. We're able to make it work for the needs of the students. Hey, and so we spent a lot of time up there, and we made it quite comfortable for the students there. And of course, our two elders in residence, one of which we have here, Nadu Tsitsi, and our other elder, Ruth Skellock. Olson Community College is a staple within our community. It is the learning hub, I guess we'd like to call it, within Siksika. It is where a lot of our students meet. That's where I started before I went to the university. I did my upgrading. I did 1 year of upgrading before I was accepted, and I still remember when I was accepted. No, I did my upgrading there, and now I'm back, right? I'm back working as an employee at Olson, so it's just a little bit of a continuing there. But yeah, that is Olson Community College. What makes this truly a unique program is how we've been able to incorporate our Indigenous knowledge. Like I said previously, I'm still learning our ways. Hey, I'm 57 years old. I've got my grandchildren, my boys, but that doesn't make me someone who knows everything there is to know about our Indigenous ways. Every day and I speak the truth here. Every day I'm learning something new about who we are as a people. So there's no way that I'm going to be able to be the one to do this piece of the program, right? And because of that, and is a way of our people, we always seek out our elders, our spiritual leaders, to guide us in that knowledge. They have the histories, they have the stories, they have the meanings that is significant to to our people. Hey? When we started working in this area, uh, it was very. I still think in awe about this. Coming from 5 years, at the university, and it was quite. I'm just very honored that I'm involved in this program in that way. We sought out our elders, and we developed an elders advisory group, and two of those elders are here in this room, which is Bruce Starlight, Deanna Starlight, and Nat Woods is here, part of our group. Our members are from the Treaty 7 nations, and we wanted to ensure a well-rounded knowledge base for all of those who resided within these lands to be incorporated or to be provided by our elders. Hey, not only because the Iiyikinaami program is not only a Sixpack program, it is there for Indigenous students. Hey, and our students, we've tried to attract is, Treaty 7, students from Treaty 7 and from Métis Region number 3. And so it was that knowledge base that I really wanted to incorporate within the program from our elders and spiritual leaders within that reside within, the lands that we're on. How we did that is by having the elders come in to visit with our students. Starting from term 3 of the program, we're able to get them part of their lives in term 3. Our elders take an active are actively participating with their students and passing on that knowledge as part of their course with the university. So I just thought it was really, really awesome in the way that was put together. Hey, and the other way that our elders provide us advice is through course development. We're in the process of looking at developing some courses through Olson Community College and in partnership with the University of Calgary. And really including a lot of those, what I touched on here. Heather told me you can only talk for 45 minutes. I don't have too much time here to be talking about who we are as Indigenous and touching all the different, details of who we are. I just gave you a snapshot of some of the things that came to mind, when preparing this speech. But they're providing us advice on development of curriculum through the Olson Community College. So that advice is very dear to us, because like I said, our information is not in research. It's not in. We don't learn that with looking online. We don't learn that opening up a book, right? We learn that from day one, and we continue to learn that as lifelong learners, even in our advanced years. Yeah, so I'm really proud of this program, And like I said, it is truly a marrying of the Western ways with our Indigenous ways in a truly unique fashion, right? I tried to look at different research across Canada in terms of similar nursing programs, and we've been able to accomplish this and what we've set out to do in terms of really truly making this into an Indigenous program, attractive to our Indigenous peoples, and I think we're really in a good way that way with the Iiyikinaami program. I see a lot of really good benefits with a program. It opens a pathway to degree nursing for Indigenous students. It reduces barriers to training in the healthcare for Indigenous students. Increases the number of Indigenous registered nurses within our communities. It increases the ability to provide culturally safe care, having that well-rounded knowledge of not only from Siksika, but from our Cree neighbors, from our neighbors down east, with all the various First Nations within our territories. To provide members opportunity to be able to work in their own communities. We're not just going to graduate these students, we're going to assist them beyond that. Okay? So that is something that I'm really happy that we're going to be looking forward to when we have our first graduates in 2026. So I'm really proud of that. And of course, incorporating that knowledge, guiding that knowledge along with what we need to learn as nurses. In a curriculum that we study under, is going to really prepare our nurses to really better that quality of life, especially for our Indigenous people who do face a lot of challenges, and maybe have an inability to get past the hurts that they've experienced in their lives. I just wanted to share some of the stories. Some of the pictures that we have at the program. In the far left there, I don't know if you can hear me. In the far left there is the faculty. Is the faculty and our. I don't know if this will work. Let's see. Anyways. In the far left there is our faculty. A lot of I think they're all here. Great people to work with. A lot of collaboration with our team at the university, and we have our president there, Maria Bensler, as well. This side is our second year students, I guess now, and that is just a picture of that event that we had, throughout the year. This is at the end. There is a broader picture of the lab. That's the classroom space that they work in. On the other side of that space is where they have the stations there, and the university have been coming in and helping to get that lab set up for the students. So we've really been able to make the space work. It's just awesome up there. The middle picture at the bottom is a recent trip that the students took at the university, and I thought it was really important, like the one in the middle there, that the students continue to engage with campus life and be exposed to the services and different things that they can experience at the University of Calgary, because all of their courses are taught at Olson Community College. Even their clinical placements are in partnership with Siksika Health Services are held on the reserve. I guess after next year, our second year students will be going into the acute care centers in the surrounding areas and then as well as in the city of Calgary. So, but at this time, they all take their courses at the Olson Community College. And then we have a little picture here of some more of our students in the program. And I wanted to point this picture out here. It was a good day that day. I went to the students at Kim and Michelle at the university, and I heard so many good comments about the students, and some of them never went to the university. I think they might have went there and stopped quickly, but to actually take a tour of the Writing Symbols Lodge and library and whatnot. So it was a good day, and and the bottom one is when they went to Writing Symbols Lodge and they had the pet for paws. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And so yeah, they had a good experience there that day. They're going to be going back, and we've got a part of the program is that we need to continue to engage the students. So that is a really big part of our program, to ensure that their students continue to engage with one another, but also to engage with staff and members of the faculty, and also the environment at the University of Calgary. It has certainly been a journey. The world, the past 3 years now, we've been 3 years in operation at Lake Olson Community College. The collaboration agreement was signed between the University of Calgary and Olson Community College in March of 2021. Soon after that, we got the program going and got our first cohort students in, and it was really fast. My life has flew by the last 3 years. It was, but it was very. I just think it's really beneficial for the students that are taking the course, hey, and but it was a partnership, hey, a partnership between two institutions, and sometimes those two institutions, there's a difference in how we view our world, right? And I think we've really begun to, accommodate both ways in which we review our world for the benefit of our students, hey, and for the benefit of the care of our clients that we're going to be working with. A few months ago, I was listening to an elder, and he was talking about at another event at Olson. I agree with him. I agree that reconciliation has been overly used, and it's you hear people use the term reconciliation, hey, and but it's nice to hear the word, but it needs to be followed up with action, okay? And not only that, when that action does take place, that we be able to work in true partnership with our Indigenous people, because they're the ones who hold the knowledge. They're the ones who pass the knowledge to the young ones. They're the ones who hold those histories and all those stories, within them, to be able to pass on to all of us, hey? The Iiyikinaami program at Olson Community College, in partnership with the universities, I think, really heading in a good way, by offering what I wasn't offered when I went to school, hey? And I'm so very honored that I played a part in, helping to, run this program in that direction. Our youth are a lot of our youth are getting educated these days. When I was at the university, when when I started at the university, I was told that I was the only First Nation student within the whole, all 4 years at that time. And I was away from my community, and when someone told me that, it just gave me a little bit, it contributed to that feeling of being alone. That there's no other, people from my community, in the program, hey, and so I'm really proud a lot. I work with Olson Community College. We're getting into more post-secondary programs at the college, and we see students every day coming into the college with upgrading needs, and now delving into the post-secondary higher learning. Hey, and I'm so glad that I'm part of that team as well. My sister here, Louise, is also a coordinator with Olson, and but I just want to share one story with all of you, hey, and that ends my presentation. When I was contemplating going back to school, I had gone to, I went to visit my dad, Leo, at his place on the east side of the reserve, and I was sitting, we were sitting in the living room, and he started talking, and I was just listening to him, and he started talking to me about the importance of education, hey? And my father didn't get that opportunity with the residential schools. He only went to grade 9, and they booted him out of there, told him to make a living for himself, like they had prepared him, for the rest of his life, right? But we all know that wasn't the case. And he was talking to me about the importance of my education. Now we had this man who worked with a lot of leaders across Canada, worked with various dignitaries with the federal government, with the provincial government. He's had tea with the Queen, right? And yet he didn't have that education. He was telling me how important it was for me to get my education. And he told me that is the key to being able to effectively work with our non-Indigenous partners. And his words ring so true today. Because this evening I'm standing here as an equal to all of you here today, talking about something that we're with the university we're working in partnership with, but talking about something with all of you as an equal in terms of how that's going to benefit our Indigenous people. So if I didn't get this opportunity to or this degree that I had with the university, I might not have been in this position to be able to work with all of you great people, and my team at the university. And thank you for listening to my words tonight. I'm honored to be here, sharing a little bit about myself, but putting it into context with how we kind of came about with Iiyikinaami, and who was really there to help us get the program going, and especially with our elders guiding us through every step of the way. So thank you.